Hey guys, this is Game Zone, and before I start, I would recommend you guys to watch the movie first before watching this video because it contains a lot of spoilers regarding the Avengers Endgame storyline. And if you guys have watched the movie, then yeah, then it will be a good one for you guys. And don't get me wrong, I love the Marvel series and I love all of his movies. I'm a big fan of it. But after watching the Endgames two times in the cinema, I have felt that the movie have a lot of mistakes in it, and I will just start about it in a second. But still, I'm going to recommend you guys not to watch this video if you guys haven't watched the movie yet. So yeah, let's start with the spoilers now. As you guys can know that in the end game, the Avengers went back in time to retrieve the all Infinity Stones. And before that, you guys remember that War Machine, Ant-Man were giving reference about the other movies that how time travel works. Like if you go back in time and kill someone, it will affect the future. But Hulk said the time does not work like that. And I'm going to quote his line here, what Hulk said. I don't know why everyone believed that, but that isn't true. Think about it. If you travel to past, that past becomes your future, and your former present becomes the past, which can't now be changed by your future. So what Hulk meant by that was this, like if you are in 2019 right now, and if you go back into 2017, that 2017 will become your present, and what happened in that 2017 will become your future. So the timeline will split. uh, Another example would be like that if you go back in time and change something, then that change will take they take a course in different timeline, and it will not affect on 2019. So yeah, it will take a different path, but that past will become your present if you go back in time and change something. So yeah, that is what Hulk said about the past. And after that they went back into the time, into the past 2012, when Hulk met with the Sorcerer's Supreme and asked her for the time stone, and she refused. And I'm going to quote her: I'm sorry, Bruce. If I give up the time stone to help your reality, I'm dooming my own. The Infinity Stones creates what you feel is the flow of time. Remove one of the stone and that flow split. And what she meant by that is if you take out one infinity stone from the past and take it to your reality, and by meaning reality is that if you take it to your timeline like in 2019, then the timeline will be splitted and it will doom her reality, because as you guys can know that Doctor Strange had to use this time stone to defeat the Dormammu, and without it, it was not possible. So Hulk gave her the solution that we will bring back the time stone from where we took it, and in this way, the new timeline will never be created. So, where is the mistake then? If the flow of time is the same, which is coursing through from past to future, and Hulk said that if you travel back to time and change something, it will only happen in the past and it will not affect the future from where you have come from. So would that mean that if they go back in the past and change something there, and that change would make the future that they come from, it will like make it cease to exist, like they that it will no longer exist, or will it take a different course? If it will cease to exist if they change something in the past, then 2019 should be different, because it doesn't matter. Uh, uh, it doesn't matter if they come from 2019 and change something in 2012. The time will just flow in one direction, and if they did something different in the past, that change should be permanent also in the 2019. But if that is not true, and changing something past will only affect in the past because that is your future, and 2019 will remain what it is, then there are a lot of mistakes which they have made, or maybe they didn't think about, because as you guys can see, the movie timeline for the end game started from the 2012. They went to New York for the Space Stone, and as you guys can know, Space Stone is the cube back then in 2012, and they plan to get it to bring it 2019, but Loki got it away with it. And by that means, if Loki got the stone, then he should have never been like back back encased in Thor 2 the Dark World, if I'm not wrong. He should have never been in the Thor 2 like a prison, because he escaped with the cube. And as you guys can know, that the Mind Stone, it was a staff back then, and Captain America went to the elevator and he said, "Hail Hydra." That should also change the timeline for the current Captain America, and the movie which came after should have not happened that way. Then there is the reality stone which is in the Asgard. Well, all they did was that is extract the stone from Jane Foster and they just put it back into her. So the story should remain the same. But for the Power Stone, as you guys can know, Guardian of the Galaxy, they basically knock out Quill, who is also known as Warlord, and took out the stone back to 2019. And the Soul Stone, well, it was never in the movie before Infinity War, so it shouldn't affect any of the timeline. But the Power Stone, just think about it. Power Stone is connected with a lot of big uh, movies, events which happened in the Guardian of the Galaxy. But before I talk about that, the first, as I have mentioned you about the timeline and the things that happen in the movie. So all these changes should have make a new timeline which they made, and as you guys can see in the movie, Thanos also jumped from 2014 to into 2019. That would mean that the Infinity War shouldn't have happened at all in the different timeline at least. And if the flaw is the same, that coming from past to future, then yeah, it should happen in the movie as well. And what I'm talking about is that if Thanos jumped from past to future, then the timeline should have been changed, and all the people should have come back without using the gauntlet. But it did not happen. So yeah, they did not explain it well because they changed a lot of things in the movie, like Hail Hydra. Loki got it away with the space stone, and the Power Stone. Since Thanos jumped from 2014 to into 2019, uh, Star Lord never met with Gamora, and therefore they never had an encounter, uh, and never went to the jail as well. So Kree and so the Ronin should have used the Power Stone, and Gamora was not there to help Star Lord in the end. So would that mean that the Star Lord didn't make it, or it never happened at all? Anyways, if I'm talking about that, if Thanos jumped from past to future, then the other Iron Man should have still be alive, because as you guys can remember that in the Thor Ragnarok, Thanos go to the ship of the Thor and kill everyone there. It should have also not happened in that timeline, and if it didn't happen in that timeline, then Hulk never made it to the Doctor Strange, and they never came to Iron Man, and therefore Iron Man should have still be alive in the different timeline. Right? It's all confusing. Iron Man is dead, but he's still alive in the different timeline. But then again, in the end, Captain America went back to the time and put all the stone where they belong in the timeline. And he never come back to the future. Instead, he went back to the past and lived his life and went back to the future with the old age. And guess what, guys? He remembered everything. So would that mean what Sorcerer Supreme said was true? That I'm sorry, Bruce. If I give up the time stone to help your reality, I'm dooming my own. The Infinity Stones create what you feel is that flow of time. Remove one of the stone and that flow split. So basically, they fixed the flow of time, and Captain America never came back into 2019. Instead, he went back in the past and lived his life, and he came into 2019 as an old man because the flow was the same. The timeline didn't split, and therefore he remembered everything, and he did everything in from 2012 to 2019. And this is really confusing because if Captain America came from the same timeline, remembering everything, and the timeline was the same, and everything happened as they said, everything happened as they did in the movie, then the timeline should have been changed, and the event of Infinity War should have never happened. And therefore, Iron Man should have been alive and the other character as well. The only person who should have stayed dead is the Black Widow because she sacrificed her life to bring back everyone. And they did that, but Thanos jumped future, from past to future, which is also really confusing. If Thanos jumped from past to future, then the whole Infinity event should have never happened. And if it never happened, then they were fighting no one, and Black Widow should have also be alive, I guess. It's really confusing because Bruce Banner said something else that it creates a different branch of time, but the Supreme Sorcerer said if you split the stone, take the stone from one time to another, then it will split the flow. Otherwise, it shouldn't. And the proof of that is Captain America because he lived his whole life from past till future and he knows and he remembers everything and he is living in the same timeline. So yeah guys, this was it about the mistakes which I mentioned, and let me know guys what you think, if I'm wrong about it and if you have some other theories. And yeah, thanks for watching guys, and I hope you have fun with the movie. And if you haven't watched the movie yet and you just watch this movie, well, I cannot say anything about that, but still, anyways, thanks for watching guys, and goodbye.